Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. All right, everyone. We're welcome back to another episode of Divorcing Strong. We are going strong because I've got so many podcasts this week and I'm excited to bring these people to you and give you the resources and the information. You know, every day I kind of think of like, how can I make this a little bit more valuable and help you along your journey even more? You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday and she gave me this quote that I wanted to share with you. And I loved it. Although I don't believe in mistakes, I'm going to just say that to begin with, but because I believe everything happens for a reason in our lives. But when we learn from our mistakes, then the cost becomes our tuition. And I truly, truly believe that because I look back on my experiences and it took me a little while to get to the point where I could be like, okay, like I remember when I was going through my second divorce, a really good friend of mine said, Becky, you're going to look back on this and say, wow, I am just so grateful that this is happening for me, you know, and to me. And I thought to myself, I'm like, no, that is not going to happen. And it did, you know, at some point I got back and I'm like, you know what, everything that I went through and I'm more educated. I went from knowing nothing about the legal system to now knowing a lot about the legal system, even at some point teaching local sheriff's departments and courthouses because of the amount of studying and research that I did, that I could teach them gently how to do certain things within the law. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to have the knowledge that I have to be able to help the people that I need that come into my space. And it's the same thing with the people that I bring onto these shows is that I bring a lot of people because not everyone's the right fit for everyone. And there's beautiful, amazing people in this space that have such heart to want to be able to serve and help that most people that are divorced don't even have any clue that those resources are out there. So I hope that you understand and can see this. Again, if you are so inclined, please like and share. I'm going to put my little thing up there. Like and share this, share it with people that are going through divorce, family, friends, anyone that you feel could be benefit from learning about the court system and the resources that are out there for people that are divorced. Also wanted to just put a plug in, go ahead and download the 100 divorce terms. It's free. The more educated you are on this process, the better you're going to do in your divorce. So that will help you talk to attorneys, that will help you talk to the legal systems, understanding the terms, because there is a whole nother language when it comes to divorce. So again, I am your host today, Becky Sampson of Divorcing Strong, and I am excited to have today's guest on. This is a little different because you don't think of like divorce journalists, but so I'm going to read this, and it's amazing to have guests like this that are willing to take the time to come on. So the veteran journalist, Illysa Panitz, is widely recognized as one of the world's foremost authorities in divorce journalism, using her 25-year media career to educate and empower family navigating separation, custody, and the complex reality of the divorce process. After years as a reporter, producer, and editor, she shifted her focus from filling a critical gap to public understanding, providing accurate, accessible, and compassionate information about divorce. Illysa is the creator and host of the national syndicated and live streamed radio show, The Divorce Hour, airing every Saturday and Sunday on CRN Digital Talk Radio, and streaming on 14 platforms, including Spotify, Amazon, and Audible. Each episode features leading experts in the family law, co-parenting, mental health, and financial planning to help listeners make informed decisions during one of the most challenging transitions. In 2024, she expanded her mission with Why Through Divorce, a streaming TV series on your home TV and Roku, available in more than 100 countries. The show dives deep into every aspect of divorce: legal strategy, emotional wellness, financial survival, lifestyle shifts, and protecting children throughout the process. Through her reporting, interviews, and signature ability to translate complex issues into clear guidance, Illysa has become a trusted source for anyone seeking real answers, reliable resources, and hope while navigating divorce. So with that, I want to go ahead and welcome Illysa to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and this is like so your a platform. I love it. I love that you're just comfortable in this space, and you just took the bull by the horns all these years ago and said, look, there needs to be a better way. So thanks for coming to the show, and tell us a little bit about kind of your backstory and what makes you passionate about being in this space and now being able to provide so much for people, resources for them when they're going through a divorce.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I've been a journalist my entire life. My background has been in celebrity and entertainment, red carpets, premieres, sit down one-on-ones. But when I filed for divorce in 2018, and like everybody else, I was searching for information about divorce because I didn't know the first thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of use the same joke. I could have started in the movie Clueless because I really was clueless about what divorce was. And I went searching for a lot of information. It's very hard when you don't know a lot about this one subject to separate fact from fiction because everything looks good on screen.
Right.
And then when the pandemic hit and my job went south because the whole world shut down, I realized in that moment when the world stopped and my job stopped that there was not a journalist in my industry devoted to this one subject. So
Right.
when people are journalists, they get assigned what's called a beat. It's just an industry term for subject. We have people covering every single beat you can think of: transportation, education, politics, medical, but nobody was out there covering divorce. And as you and a lot of people that you work with know, the divorce rate for first marriages is anywhere between 40 to 50%. And that's a lot. So you have all those people out there who are going through this for the first time, clueless. I'm going to go back to that clueless again about what they need to know. And there's not a trusted journalist out there trying to educate them and spread knowledge. And that's when I said to myself, you know what, I'm not doing anything anyway. Let's start a little column here. That column quickly grew to this radio show where we are on every Saturday, Sunday on CRN Digital Talk Radio Network. For anybody who misses it, we've been picked up by 14 different podcast platforms. And that one column that I started grew into writing other columns for other publications about anything and everything that can happen before, during, or even after a divorce. And I break it down to be really easy to understand because when people are going through a divorce, they are really vulnerable. They don't understand what's happening. They're hearing terms for the first time. They're scared about the unknown. I try to take all that and I give you a safe place to understand it so we can help you navigate through this transition a lot easier. And one of my main goals always is to help people lessen the stress, lessen the anxiety, and save time and money because some divorces can wipe a person out financially.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know if you've heard this statistic. I think it's 45% of women coming out of divorce end up in financial poverty. And I'm
Yes.
like, not on my watch. I mean, not on my watch. Like my opinion is because they're not informed of their rights and they don't know how to advocate for themselves. That's my personal opinion. But I love that you like to simplify that. So, I mean, one of the things that have you seen patterns with people that have come to you, or even in all of the interviews that you've done, have you seen patterns of common mistakes people make during divorce?
Oh, yeah. And I think the most common one I get all the time is, I'm filing for divorce and I need your attorney. And I'm like, put the car into screeching halt brakes and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, first of all, that is your biggest mistake. And here's why. Because you're going to sit down with that attorney, and the attorney, like, for example, here in New York, where I'm based, handed me a big stack of like papers. I thought they were like, they went to like Staples and were handing me to like put into their printer. And it was called a statement of net worth. And you have to fill out every little penny that you make, that you spend, where it goes. And you have to do like this whole analysis of your life. And you need to understand all those numbers. You need to understand what's coming in, what's going out, and where it all is. And most people don't. And for your attorney to go and do that will cost you a fortune. Here is where people need to get educated, and here's where people need to roll up their sleeves and do their homework. Their first call, if they're contemplating divorce or maybe somebody has served them with papers, your first call should be to your accountant, to your financial advisor. If you don't have one, you can get one. And also, if you can, make sure they're a CDFA. That stands for Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. And think of it as like divorce accounting, because they can help you a lot more than, let's just say, a general accountant, because they're more equipped to deal with the divorce, to deal with the field of divorce, what you are legally entitled to under the law, what you can get, what you're going to be accountable for. They can help walk you through it. They can help teach you where to look for things. So you want to know where the retirement funds are, where your investment accounts are, credit cards you have. You want to check on that mortgage, your cars. Are they loaned? Are they leased? I mean, you need to really know where every single thing is, because when it comes down to sitting down either with a mediator or the attorneys, they need to advocate for you, and you need to advocate for yourself in the right way. And how can you advocate when you don't know
I know.
what you have? And so this is where I tell people, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the legal aspect right now. Worry about understanding and getting an education on anything and everything about your money, because in many divorces, this is where it all boils down to.
Yeah, no, I don't think people take as much consideration, especially if they're in a divorce or in a marriage, I should say, that didn't have the information financially. So a lot of people will, even that I talk to, I know it's so much of a strategy, right? Because every situation's different. But if there's somebody with, it could be the male or the female, right?
Yeah.
That don't know about the finances, and then all of a sudden the divorce happens, or you're in the process or preparing for that. Same thing. I'm like, you've got to gather all the information that's available to you right now. And if it's not, a lot of people feel like they can't get it, but that's where the subpoenas come in, discovery and then subpoenas. That's the power of the subpoena. And that's how I won my case, is because I got all the information out on the table and there was no more hiding. And it's just like, now let's negotiate. But something you brought up before we started the show, I really would like people to hear this story. But when people call you, I mean, you've talked to so many professionals out there. When people call you for advice, like, why is that so important to make that call to you or to other people to kind of get perspective before they really start making the move?
It's really important to talk to somebody who's been through it. And I think one person who called me said, I feel so bad making you relive your mistakes. I'm like, no, you want me to relive my mistakes and constantly share them so you do not make them. Because if you make them, it's going to cost you time, money, and it's going to drive your anxiety through the roof. And that's what we want really to avoid. I mean, the goal is to get you in and out of this process, or this shift transition. A lot of people have different names for it, as quickly as possible. Some divorces, I say, can be a 25/8, really 25 hours a day, 8 days a week of your life. You don't want that. And a lot of times the more complicated divorces, or they call them contentious divorces, can do that. What you want to do is, you want to, in the best way that you can, try to work with the other side. If you can sit down with them and reason and say, look, we each have a goal. Okay. We want to dissolve the marriage in the fastest way possible, not spending everything that we worked for, and put it into the system so you can live the life you want, I can live the life that I want. But most importantly, we can continue providing for our children. And a lot of people have minor children, they may have grown children, but a lot of people are helping support those grown children. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to eat into retirement. Hate towards an ex can be a really awful thing. And it can be expensive. We don't want that. So I try to tell people, leave your anger at the door.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go to the office, you're supposed to leave it at the door so you can be on your A game in the boardroom and with clients. You got to leave your anger at the door when you sit down with your mediator or your lawyer, if you're in a conference room, and just treat it as a business deal. Get it done. And even if, for example, in New York, it's equitable distribution. Even if maybe you're entitled to, let's say I'm making up a number, there's a bank account of $10,000, and it's easier to give the other side maybe 7, so you don't have to continue fighting about it and going back and forth, which is going to be costly. And now nobody's getting anything but probably a bill because now you're in the negative. It's easier to kind of negotiate, compromise, and maybe walk away. Money can always be made. So I try to tell people that, you can always make money, especially for women. It's a great time to learn about money now. It's a great time to learn about the markets. You can take a course. A lot of local colleges give them. People take them online. You'll make the money back, but don't waste it, and don't have and don't dedicate all this time and energy and stress. Trust me, it wears on you. It's going to show in your face. You don't want that either. And get it done as quickly as possible, because the more that it lingers, the more expensive it gets.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think you had shared a story though before we started, that somebody called you and was looking for an attorney.
Yeah.
What advice did you give them, and what did you save them?
So it was a friend of mine who I'd known for a long time, had been married about 24 years. And the first thing they said is, I need your attorney. I'm going to file for a divorce. And I was like, well, if you don't mind, can you share some of the circumstances?
Mm-hmm.
Well, long story short, the home that they were in, they were renting. So they didn't own it. They didn't have a mortgage. And usually the marital home is the biggest asset people have. So they didn't have that. Their kids were grown and out of the house. They had very little in savings. They had some debt. They were just kind of living paycheck to paycheck, so to speak. And I said, well, you don't need an attorney. You can do mediation. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper. And not only that, but you'll stay in control. You can use your voice. And not only that, I'm like, but you'll be done a lot quicker. And, mediation, for people who don't understand what that is, it's sitting with a third party neutral. They're not necessarily have a legal background, but regardless of whether they do or they don't, they cannot give you or the other side any legal advice. But what they do is they try to help you both find resolution to all the outstanding matters that are on the table. And so for a lot of people, if they really work together with their estranged spouse, some people can get this done with under a year, and they don't even have to spend a ton of money to do it. I think theirs all in, I think they were somewhere, and they got review attorneys just to review the document before it got filed with the court. I think they did it in under $8,000 or $10,000. It may sound like a lot to some people, but in the long run, it's a lot cheaper than going into the 6 figures and even 7 figures, what people do when they make the fighting. Don't fight, get it done.
Yeah. As my mom, when we were going through this, because my sweet mom, I have to give a shout out to her, because she listens to every single one of these podcasts, and she's so funny. She's making a list of all the things that she's learning, because she was with me during the entire process. She was like my wingman, wing woman, whatever. But I do love that what she says is that, look, Becky, it's now business. Pull your big girl panties up, and it's a business transaction. And I hate to say that, that to people who are going through a lot of actually the podcast I have right after this is going to be all about grief. So it's not that I think people in this industry don't have a heart for that, but there's a time and a place, and there's different people and resources in order to go there. But when it comes to the business of divorce, and if you want to save as much money as possible, you've got to be able to just look at it as a business transaction. And that is just really, really important. So with all of now, how long have you been doing your interviewing and reaching out to people in this? It's been since 2020?
Yeah, so we started the column, which I still have on Authority Magazine. Started the column in September of 2020. The show, The Divorce Hour with Illysa Panitz, which people can find on CRN Digital Talk Radio every Saturday, Sunday. That's been, we've been doing that since July of 2021. And then I think by 23-ish, early 23, we started getting picked up by all these different podcasts. And now I have columns all over the place in multiple publications covering all different angles and aspects of divorce. And we just kind of break everything down in the easiest way possible to help people understand. And sometimes I interview also real people going through it. Sometimes we have to change their names for the respect of privacy, but to show that you're not alone. I know divorce can feel very isolating. You are not alone. Somebody once asked me, what I compare a divorce to. And I always say, people make fun of me, but I always tie it back to The Wizard of Oz, which is my most favorite movie. And I know a lot of people are thinking Wizard of Oz because of all the success around Wicked. But picture yourself as Dorothy. You're going to first go up in the cyclone, which is the divorce, and you're going to be spinning like you feel like you're out of control. But then you're going to start finding your path, AKA the yellow brick road. And along the way, you have to use your brain, the scarecrow. Yeah, your heart is going to break like the Tin Man did in the end when he had to say goodbye to Dorothy. You got to have courage through this because this is a very, very scary time. But along the way, you're going to meet people who are going to help you, AKA your team. So think of like the wizard and the good witch and all the people who are going to be around you to help you get to the end. Dorothy wanted to go home. You want to get to the end and then create yourself a new home. And there's a big difference between the house and the home because a lot of people do have to change their lifestyle when they're going through a divorce. But I tell people, really rewatch The Wizard of Oz and kind of picture it that way. You will get to the end of this, but you got to have a goal. And what's your goal? And your goal should not be fighting with your ex. Again, that's going to cost you a tremendous amount of time, money, stress. That does not look good on the face. It also can provoke a lot of gray hairs, which nobody wants.
Yes. Do you see I'm gray now? I'm totally. Yeah. No more dye. That's it. This is my authentic self. I'm just full on gray. Yeah.
It's very in right now.
Yes.
But that should be, but that should be your goal. The beauty, the beauty of divorce, and people always say there's beauty in divorce. And I said, yes, because you can take like a blank sheet of paper, so to speak. And what you can do is you can start writing words and you can draw pictures. You don't have to be Picasso of what you want this next chapter to look like, and make that almost like your vision board and create goals for yourself. So it could be, I want to take up a new hobby. I've always wanted to learn a second language. My roommates from college always went away and I've never been able to go, but maybe now when the kids are with my ex, I can go. I can go visit family more. People I lost contact with, I'll have a little bit more time and flexibility to make that phone call. You can do so much for yourself. People go back to work. People go for, the promotion because they get more focused at the office. There are so many wonderful things that you can do. Doesn't mean we're promoting divorce. We're just trying to say it doesn't have to signal disaster. It can just to signal do over, and you can do things now, the way that you always envisioned and bring them to life. And there's a lot of beauty in that. I've seen a lot of people really rebuild their lives, and that's a hashtag we use all the time on the show, hashtag build back better. And people do. And, when they get into a better place where they're feeling very confident and happy with themselves, it also helps promote the opportunity to get along with their co-parent and ex-spouse a lot better. You don't have to be besties, but at least get into a better place where you can have a conversation, where you don't always have to be arguing. Where if somebody does something upset you, you know how to deal with it a lot better, and find a resolution to to the issue at hand. A lot of good
Yeah.
things can come out of this, and that's
Yeah.
what people need to remember.
I agree with you. I think divorce sometimes can be the best thing that happens to people. And they get to rebuild their life, like you're saying. And we talked about that actually yesterday about like, what is it that you got to have something to look forward to, or else you're always going to get pulled back into your past.
Yes.
And what, you're going to be like, I wish it was this way, or I wish this happened, or this didn't. Why does this happen? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, have something, whether it's a business, like I'm an entrepreneur. So I had to think of like, what's my next opportunity? What's my next relationships? What's my everything to keep my focus in that regard. So I love that. Yeah, I've got an interesting question for you. So being in the movie industry and being in the public eye and things like that, what is the biggest myth that you think people believe about divorce because of the movies and media and TV?
I think when people think divorce, they think of movies like Kramer versus Kramer and The War of the Roses, that it has to be that bad and that ugly. It does not. And as a matter of fact, the High Conflict Institute has done a lot of research on this and found that really only 18 to 20% of divorces reach that level, 18 or 20%. So yeah, on one side you may think it's high, but then when you think about that 80%, that kind of outweighs, the 18-20%. So I know it may, I try to tell people, try as best as you can to work as a team and get along so you can be the 80%. And I'm telling you, there are so many benefits to it. Again, and we've been talking about it throughout this conversation. You save time, you save money, it lessens your stress. And again, you're not going to be, like, as you were saying, spinning your wheels in the past. You're going to be able to kind of move on. And that's really important. And that's something that you really want to teach your kids. And that's one thing that I've always tried to teach my own children, the importance of letting go and moving on. And it doesn't mean that we ignore the past or we pretend it didn't happen. Not at all. Our past shapes a lot of who we are today. My past helped kind of like pave the way of what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now is spreading education and knowledge. And we're really trying to help people so they don't have to be that 20%. And even if they are, we're right here for you with experts and resources to help you navigate during this very difficult time. But the movies are there for entertainment. Remember that. And that's exactly what they are. If you don't want to be that, you don't have to be. A lot of people don't realize this. Also, you're in control of your divorce. So you may not be able to control the other side, but you can control you. And you're 50% of this. So you can help steer this in the way that you want it to go. And people have to remember that. So
Yeah, you brought up the whole Wicked, right? And it made me think of a time during my first divorce when I was listening to the song For Good. Have you heard that one?
Oh, I would listen to it this morning when I was getting lunches ready.
Oh my gosh. I have to say, if I ever do a retreat for couples or for divorce, which I'm going to do, I'm going to do something called divorce camp, because I grew up at a summer camp for kids my whole life. And so I'm like, look, let's do a retreat that's called a camp. Just let's go back to the basics, right? But one of the songs that really made a difference for me was that for Good, because we come into relationships, we don't know if we're going to ever see them again. We're going to forgive each other for what we've done or haven't done or said or haven't said. And we may never see each other again, but our relationship, our time together, it was for good. It served some purpose. And that just shifted everything, my perspective of going, my divorce is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And I can be grateful for that experience and then move forward. That was just a huge thing. And so I I'm actually, I don't know, I'm writing music for people going through divorce. Like that's because that's another really huge thing. But I have another really interesting question for you, just because you are, as a journalist, and you have this rare advantage. You see a lot of angles of the divorce. I mean, what do you see people wish that they had known sooner, like in the divorce?
I think what they would have known sooner was how to do it better, or how to keep their emotions in check.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by how to do it better? One, finding the right people. A lot of times people say, I didn't realize I need a team. They think all they need is the lawyer. No,
Right.
no, no, no. That's mistake number one.
Yes.
Your lawyer is not a financial planner. Your lawyer is not a therapist, and they don't want to be your therapist.
Yeah.
Your lawyer is there to make sure wherever you live. And remember, we have non-community property states. The rest are equitable distribution. So depending where you live, their job is to make sure, depending where you live, and the laws vary from state to state, that you get what you are legally entitled to where you reside. You need a team, and people think when I say this, it's because it's expensive. It's not. It's actually a lot more cost efficient, but you want to find the team, and it's kind of like dating. You may have to like talk to a couple accountants, a couple CDFAs, a couple therapists, a couple lawyers to find the match for you. These are going to be really intimate relationships. They have to know everything about your situation so they can help guide you the right way. So trust me, they've heard it all. They've
Yeah.
seen it all. Nothing should be off limits in terms of what you tell them. But the more information you give them, the more they can steer you down, AKA the yellow brick road, into the right direction. So you can, and here's another hashtag we use, survive and thrive. Once everything is behind you and you're now embarking, a lot of people call it their next chapter. And that should be the goal. So don't hire the first person. Talk to a couple of them, see who you click with the most. Couple questions you should ask them: what experience do you have with my particular situation? Based on what I've told you, what do you see and what do you envision, for me? How can you help me in terms of where I am? If here's somebody else I'm working with, do you have experience working with this individual? How do you feel about working on a team with a lot of people, divorce coaches and financial people and legal people? How do you feel about that? These are really important things that you want to ask, because again, everybody needs to work together, and that team that you are assembling, everybody's goal should be you and your
Yeah.
and your family, and helping you guys. People
Yeah.
don't realize this.
I tell people all the time, thank you for that, because it really is, you need to interview. And a lot of people don't think about interviewing attorneys, but
Oh,
finding the right one, it's just like dating. I say, don't marry the first divorce attorney you meet, that period.
no.
So, hey, I was going to ask you one last question I have for you. We're going to kind of wrap this up. But wanted to thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for the work that you're doing. You probably had no idea that this is what the industry that you'd get into, but I'm super glad that you saw the opportunity and you're like, you know what, nobody's doing this. I am going to jump in full force, and I love that you're in that space. So here's my last question for you: is what does divorcing strong mean to you?
I think divorcing strong, what it means to me is always empowering yourself, always remembering who you are, what you bring to the table. Just because your marriage didn't work out does not mean you are a failure. You're not. I always try to tell people my marriage didn't work out, but I got the greatest gift out of it, and to me, it was the biggest success. People are like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I got my kids." And without my former spouse, I wouldn't have my kids. So we may have not worked out, but together we successfully had two amazing, amazing, amazing children that I am always proud of. They are always my goal. every single day to strive harder, to be better, to focus on the things that are important. They keep me grounded, and that's what people need to remember. A lot of marriages don't work out, and that's no reflection necessarily on you. It could be the circumstances. It could be maybe just the chemistry was off as you both grew as people. Don't look at it that way. Walk away with the thing, even if it's one thing that you both did well together. It could have been you built a business together. Like I said, you had children together. You both tended to ailing parents and you kept them alive longer. Just find whatever that is. There's always going to be at least one thing, and that's what you need to hold on to when you walk away. And if you do want to get remarried or you do want another relationship, you can have it. It's just really setting your minds and prioritizing what you need from the next person going forward. But before you do that, give yourself time to heal. Give yourself a grace period to rebuild, such as taking up a hobby, reconnecting with friends and family, really rediscovering yourself, because your priorities with that person may not be your priorities with a new partner. But again, never see your divorce as a failure. Find something that was really great about it that you can hold on to. It will also help lessen the anger.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I do believe it. I believe 100% that you can come out stronger. And we just need to have the right guidance and resources and, grit to make it through. So thank you so much, Illysa, for coming on today. And if you want to contact her, make sure you go to her website or Google her. She's all over the place. Just Illysa Panitz. .com. And thank you guys for joining with us another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. I've been your host, Becky Sampson, and join us on the next one. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.